So does
Yeah.
Timmy's daddy, and he's not.
We'll go ahead and call the workshop meeting February to order. First item, presentation of Confederate Boulevard sewer line.
Good afternoon. So I have a little presentation, and then you should have a printed copy as well. I know that at the last meeting, Mike kind of talked to you and introduced the situation to you, so this is just kind of explain a little bit further, and if you have any questions that we can answer, we can go over that. So just a little background, this was found because part of the CCTV process, which is what you want it to do. You want it to find the issues, and so that's what it did. And I will give a kudos to CHA for, instead of holding this information and waiting to the final report, they said, no, this is so important that you need to know and be made aware of it now. So basically what I said and what I put in the council action report is that there is a large portion of sewer line that needs to be replaced. There's severe structural defects, and we'll go over that as well. But I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's very deteriorated. There's even parts of the pipe that are missing during this part. So the recommendation is to replace it as soon as possible to mitigate the possibility or any potential for sewer pipe collapse, because obviously that's not what we want. So then if you flip over to the next page or the next slide, kind of gives you a map of where we're talking about. It's not the easiest to see, but the yellow line is what we're talking about. Starts all the way up to almost Old Courthouse Road, goes all the way down to in between Jamerson's and the bus shop. So obviously a good portion of pipe here. 3,349 and a half feet of sewer line is what we're talking about. 11 manholes, 20 laterals. One thing that I do want to point out that isn't on what you have in front of you is that the plan would be, you can kind of see that long line that I just discussed, but then closer to the bottom is the smaller line on the other side of Confederate. Starting up from Moses down to Church Street, the plan would be to abandon that line and then just run the laterals across. Okay, so same size line, but that would be the plan, but that's not in your presentation. It would be 8-inch lines. If you look at the bottom of that page 2 as well as the next slide, start giving you some visuals of what we're talking about. Just how, I mean, you can see it's not okay. And even on the next slide, I provided more pictures of just blatant holes. There's fractures, there's rock coming through. You can see, even to the naked eye, you can kind of see the issues there. So as far as what the game plan would be, pipe bursting, which is on the next slide. Some of you are familiar with pipe bursting, some of you aren't, so I just wanted to kind of give like just a little explanation of it with some visuals. Basically the idea is use applied force and burst through those. So you go inside the pipe expands, you burst the old pipe, put a new pipe in. That's very simple form. That is the recommendation for this project. The next slide is just another visual, just because some people are visual learners and they need to see that as well. What we're getting at is on the next slide after that is the cost. Expected cost is right at $3 million. That would include both the engineering design of the project as well as all the construction. That would be new sanitary sewer pipes, the laterals, the manholes. This would include pipe bursting of that whole line going down, but then with open cut replacing the laterals and the manholes. That is because we're right there at Confederate, right? So obviously traffic control is a big concern for us. Asphalt restoration would also, so that would minimize that inconvenience for our town that's already been dealing with Church Street water line. Also on that same slide, I don't know if you guys brought it up last time or not, but it obviously is a question about pipe lining instead. Simply put, there's places there isn't line to pipe, excuse me, there isn't pipe to line. You can't line the pipe, it's not there.
Yeah.
there's just places where it's completely corroded. There's parts of clay pipe that's just broken away. So that's why pipe bursting is the feasible option here. Also down that last bullet about open cutting, you're adding about 500 to 700,000 more to your cost there. So we believe, we've consulted with CHA, that pipe bursting would be the best idea for that situation. We flip over into the next slide for funding. We've already are in conversations with CHA. We've already approved, they've been contracted to basically figure out how this is going to be funded. There's obviously options. You've got federal government, state government. Right now, the biggest kind of back and forth is you have one side, you have grants, which are great, but they're time consuming and they take a lot of requirements. Kim and I both know there have been some grants here and they require a lot of information and things like that. Time consuming. We even flat out asked CHA, could you give us some kind of timeline, time frame of when? He said, I would be completely making it up. It's just such a long time. Then, of course, on the other side, you have options from like the Virginia Resource Authority, like local grants, local government direct loans that they have. They have competitive interest rates on 30-year terms, so there's other options as well. Basically, what we have done is we've contracted CHA to figure out all those options for us, and that last bullet on that slide is give us an outline of here's what your options, here's what you've got to look at, here's the pros, here's the cons of both of those types of things. So, I know that was a lot in a very short amount of time. Basically, you've got a sewer line that needs to be replaced, and time is of the essence.
This pipe bursting, they're actually putting a physical pipe back in there of what kind of...
HDPE pipe will be drugged back in. Once that thing is bursted through, it drags an HDPE pipe in behind it. So basically a poly pipe that takes the place of all the clay and concrete. So the clay and the concrete basically just expand and get out of the way, and you're dragging a new pipe the same size or smaller.
They stay there, it's just the pipe, new pipe's against it?
Yeah, it'll be on the outside. It busted all the pieces. I mean, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like it's on the inside of that pipe. It ruptures it. And
It just spreads it out and it takes its
and
place.
drags the pipe in
That's some
place.
pressure. I have a random question. So when these chunks break off, like, I guess they're going to the wastewater treatment plant, where does that stuff go? The
Right
missing
now.
pieces?
So typically that stuff is so heavy. Now this line is a main line going through town. So there's some pretty significant flow coming from some of the pump stations because you've got several pump stations upstream from this, which is probably one of the main causes of this. The hydrogen sulfide gases from sewer, has been eating away at this. And if you look at some of those slides, you can see the flow line in that
Right.
pipe where everything is basically just deteriorating on the top halves of that, and the lower halves too, but the top halves, those gases are in there building up and eating away at those structures. So those pieces basically just break off and stay until we go through and jet and we pull them to manholes, and over the course of the several years, we pulled out chunks and stuff at the manholes, scoop them out. If you get a flow heavy enough, it'll push them.
I just wondered where
Big
the
chunks
pieces went.
basically stay in place until we scoot them to a manhole and get them out once we do our, we go around jetting manholes once a year, try to do it more than that, but typically once a year. As long as the jetter can pull it, if it's a big enough piece, it stays in there.
So you've seen the pieces, like, oh, we've got some deterioration when you
Right.
do that. You knew you
Yeah.
had some, but,
And we've got some on this, if you look at, I don't know, you can't really read the map very good, but there's a couple places that the camera couldn't even crawl up because it was so much debris piled up in the sewer line itself. So basically, they just had to abandon camera and back out. So,
Do we have a similar problem with this line, but it's actually in the road bed and not under a sidewalk, kind of like Church Street, we would have to cut up the middle if we were to open cut?
yes, the 90% of this project is road bed. I mean, it runs right down Confederate Boulevard.
So my only concern is if we were to burst this pipe and then pull back through a pipe, either the same size or potentially slightly smaller, this is one of the main routes to our sewer plant. So if we're looking at any sort of growth, I mean, are we up against a capacity?
So that's actually something that I wrote down to discuss with you guys tonight, because basically we would burst to get us out of an emergency situation. Because if this thing clogs up, backs up, you're looking at a potential overflow. You know, we're gonna have to pump around, we're gonna have to do emergency work to get down there and fix that pipe and get it back in service. You know, this is a fix to get us out of a jam, you know, but we're looking at potential growth here, and we should be looking to expand from an 8 to a 10-inch pipe, which I've reached out. We want to talk to CHA and see if they can give us an estimate of what it would cost, because at that point, we're gonna have to open cut. You can't burst a bigger pipe in there, you just can't do it. So if that's the case, you're gonna have to open cut, basically from Old Courthouse Road all the way to the bus shop to Patricia Ann.
And if we gotta do it anyway, then this is the time. I'd rather do it now, spend the extra $2 million or whatever now, instead of having to revisit this in 15 years.
Agreed.
Yeah, because $2 million is gonna be twice as much.
Agreed. And if the town so chooses to go with these, you know, I hope we stick with the grant route, because local money last is kind of the way I look at it, but, you know, that's your decision. But if they choose the route of these loan funding agencies, you know, they're based on below market value. You know, they don't just come in and charge you a 10%, or, you know, they try to stay reasonable to help localities out. But a loan is just that, you've got to pay it back. You know, grant is that, you know, you don't have to worry about paying it back. Or if you can get a percentage of a loan and grant, is better than having to buy out $4 million worth of pipe or $3 million worth of pipe out of your pocket.
Is there any other, so right now in the system, any of the sewer, any of the waste that originates at, let's say, Walmart or the industrial park or Kroger or wherever else, is that running down that line?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, so Cindy, can you pull that slide up with the map?
So if anything else came, it would
Slide
be,
3.
Yeah.
you'd be busting through it.
If you look at the top where Old Courthouse Road is, you'll see those two black and white lines. And basically, that's the two force mains, one coming from pump station 2 and 3, coming there. And then also the IDA runs parallel and drops in a manhole as well. So that's what those black and white lines are, coming up in the top corner of that. So they drop into those and flow down that. So that was the reason that I suggested, you know, maybe it's time to look at increasing the pipe size, because all you're doing is putting a patch over it, and if we are going down this road anyway, why not fix it above and beyond for potential growth?
Yeah.
So when this pipe is actually done, what's like the age range for it and everything? So will it last 50, 7,500
You typically
years?
look at about a 50-year range.
Okay.
I mean, you know, they last longer, but typically they sell you on a 50-year range is what they.
How old do you think this pipe is?
Some of it's pretty old. I mean, the clay and concrete pipes is old. I mean, I don't have an age range, but, you know, a lot of our system, if it hasn't been replaced, you know, we closed the triple filter plant down. We had stuff down there that was built in 37, 35, you know, 1935, so.
Have they studied the flow rate, the current flow rate, and
So they're,
the expected growth? Because you're on the old side, because you'll be up every week cleaning it out.
agreed. So this line, I don't have the volumes for you to tell you.
Well, they
but
need that for
I
rate.
will tell you that it is a high volume flow, and that with those two pump stations pushing against it and the constant flow from up the end of the town, you know, it's a pretty significant flow, but the engineers will give us a rating on that and tell us whether a 10-inch pipe is overkill or not.
Right, we don't want to overkill, because
Correct.
it has to be a certain size to clean itself. If you don't, then you got more area of pipe, this gas is eating away, which plastic, it don't happen, but.
And if there's you know, I'd be curious about an inflow and infiltration high water rate too, if there's.
So that is that's part of what we're doing now, with the I&I study on that side of town. This was just brought to the attention now because it was such a potential problem for an extreme, you know, backup. I mean, because if this thing collapses, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
What is the plan? Like if you get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's collapsed, what are we doing?
They're
Well-
gonna put that section.
How would you know what happens?
Well, you'll know when it comes up on top of the ground.
It would burst through.
Yeah, well, it'll fill up in manholes and open up.
Okay, all right.
So, you know, we've got a gobble pump, we would set up an emergency bypass basically from manhole to manhole and get the flow going. And then we've got to get down, find the problem from manhole to manhole, figure out where it's at, which we can camera, because we have a camera, right? As long as it's not correct, you know, full of debris, you know, we can get a general idea where it is, dig down and fix that section of pipe. But we fix that section of pipe tonight, you know, tomorrow might be another section of pipe, next week might be another section of pipe.
So the what if game here I know is dangerous, but it's just, this is something, as long as we have this pipe in the ground, we got to think about it, is do we have the manpower and equipment to do that without needing to call anybody else. If you got a phone call and said, we got to fix a piece of pipe,
Yeah, I mean, we can get this done with the flagging operation, with the amount of people we have now. Yes, if we lose people, probably not. But we do have contractors lined up to come in and help assist with those kind of things.
Cool.
But Confederate Boulevard, you know, you're looking at a full flagging operation to get traffic around you, you know. I hope we don't have to go down this, but, you know, if we're having to set up pumps and bypass from manhole to manhole, you know, it's not an ideal situation.
The historical park pumps into this, or they come around the back way through Molo?
It comes through and goes into Pump Station 5 and basically comes in off of North Avenue, so
Okay,
it
yeah.
doesn't reach this.
Right, that's what I mean.
Okay.
So the historical park.
Thank
So-
goodness.
So then if you have to open cut a swag timeline,
Is phone ring off here.
Just one more time.
if you have to open cut, if you make the decision to open cut, what kind of timeline you looking at
Well, we've got,
from start to finish, let's say?
you've got to get land use permits, you've got to get plans, you've got to get your funding situated, we've got to get equipment and pipe lined up, you know, then we've got to get, we work around the asphalt around the season. I mean, you look at Church Street, you know, we've got some issues with the top coat. Right now, we can't fix the top coat, it's not gonna stick, you know, so some of those things have to be addressed seasonally. But if I had to guess, I mean, you could probably, I don't know, I don't wanna put a time on it, but it's probably, unless you could get under like an emergency, which I think this would fall under, an emergency planning, you know, you're probably looking at a year's worth of, or pretty close, 6 months of.
could we potentially do an abandon in place of the current line, move it over out of the VDOT road bed, and because a lot of that footage, if you look at it, is either unused or commercially owned property, and it's not necessarily residential. Could we just have a conversation, because it's like, it's Wilton's, it's the garment factory,
A whole new line.
yeah. And then we could take our time putting it in, because it's not closing down traffic.
And then just shut the other one
And,
down.
I mean, when we do the laterals, we'd have to do something, but.
Well, it's the same thing, what you say about buying time. If you put a whole, you're all running against the clock, and the clock, you
Yeah.
don't know when it's gonna expire.
But like this might be faster.
Right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying
if we just
that
did an
clock-
abandoned place so that.
And feasibility, it depends on what utilities are there, or where we're going, if
You're
we're going
gonna
under
be competing with all
sidewalk.
the existing
Yeah.
utilities already there. I know water lines there.
Right.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say, you know, water lines are in
Right there,
place,
too.
you've got
What do you
utility
think?
poles in place, you've got, fiber, well, I don't know about fiber, but phone lines and stuff, which a lot of that is pole to pole, but,
Right.
you know, you've gotta look at the different utilities that are in place if you wanted to sidestep and get on the shoulder of the road or under the sidewalk, you know, I would suggest if we go that far, we'd probably try to go behind the sidewalk, because if you have to replace the sidewalk, that's a massive concrete cost, so.
And the easements too, you're gonna have to run into more easements.
And the
How much, what percentage of this line right now is in state right of way existing?
Just about every bit of it,
So we already got that approval, permit to put it back.
because
But we'd also have an easement for the water.
basically
Right.
95%
You
of it
can't put
is.
the water right beside
We
the
put it
sewer.
on,
Yeah,
can
you
you put it
can.
under?
You put the water over.
Right, but you
If you
put the
did.
sewer underwater.
It has
You
to
don't wanna
run
do that.
10-foot parallel, it has to be
10 foot.
10 foot.
I don't know, it's just an idea, I don't know if it's functional or
That's
not.
why we have you
And so
experts to give us
basically
feasibility.
The lower half of this yellow line, basically where it starts from Moses down to Church Street, is gonna be part of an abandonment anyway,
Mhm.
because it's a shallow line and we can bring it across and tie into the other side of Confederate. So basically it brings down some infrastructure costs, you know, replacement costs, and just basically forget that section ever existed, so.
You said 20 manholes?
Yes.
How many laterals tie into it from businesses and,
Oh,
got
11
that.
manholes, 20 laterals.
so it's 20 laterals
Yeah,
altogether?
that's on the
Correct.
map.
Because some of those builds go off on side streets, not all of them come to Confederate Boulevard.
It's gonna be fun.
It's a lot.
And we can come back, you know, to the town manager with some alternate funding. We just wanted to bring this to your attention so that you know that it's going on and, you know, significant, get your gears turning and see, you know, exactly where council wanted to go with this, so.
So,
Well-
Rob, what level were they at of doing a study? You said the
CHA.
CHA is doing, are they doing a
So-
preliminary plan?
They have 30 days and we are Not quite halfway through that.
So they provide what from that to
Um,
us?
It says a matrix style outline of potential funding options and discuss the requirements of those grants versus, what you would need, you know, what would be needed for a loan versus what would be required for a grant? And what are the different options, federal and state options as well.
We need that, and plus we need a kind of idea of what some options, like we just sitting there talking about,
Right.
stay where we're at with the existing line and burst it versus, we're gonna need something to go by to
How
really
fast
pull the trigger on it.
are the interruption time for service to the customers?
They would have to pump and they'd isolate the section they do, and you correct me, David, but they would isolate the section they're working on that day and pump it probably, so it wouldn't be no disruption.
Yeah, it
That's what
would
we've
be
done in the
sections at
past.
a time, just like when we did the water line, it wasn't the whole thing at once.
So as they move down, they would have to move that bypass
Yeah.
option.
Would you,
Basically, a section would be manhole to manhole.
Yeah.
That's, because that's basically where you pull from. You pull from one manhole to the second manhole.
how much are we looking at in actually, if we did pipe bursting? How much of the total length of the problems from beginning to end versus, you know, it's a 20-foot section here, it's a 100-foot section there.
Oh, the entire length of the project?
Well, you got the whole line right now. I assume the 20 manholes, it's 10 spots, or is that 20 spots?
11 manholes.
Excuse me, thank you. So have we got 11 issues, or,
Oh, so basically 11 issues. There's issues between every manhole, and if you look at the comments that are on there, they try to highlight some of the heavy stuff down on this low end. Basically, like I said, the stuff on this side would go away because we'll abandon that, but you still got, basically one in front of the school has been capped off, and I believe that may have had a collapse years ago. That may be somebody above, but that actually sidesteps in front of the elementary school. So that says that it's capped off on that and shows a straight line, but it does not go like that. It actually sidesteps out in Confederate Boulevard, runs back up somewhere around Advanced Auto and runs back into the original line. So, you know, to me, that tells me they had some issues long before my time, of course, but
One time it had two lines, one converted to the third grade hall towards Advance, and they had another sewer line converted to the old part.
right. So,
You talking about the old elementary school or?
Correct.
Yes.
yeah, I apologize. I called the elementary school.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know, I just wanted
Because that's
to-
what it is.
Yeah, right.
That's what it
that's
is.
what it was for us.
It's in those schools.
So basically, we would be, the whole line is gonna be pipe burst.
Yes.
Have we had this issue ever in the past
Oh, yeah.
on the other side of town?
This side of town, yeah.
Yeah, I
This is
thought
just
We
so.
use the lining method instead of the bursting. It's just two different
Yeah,
techniques.
I remember.
But the pipe was more intact.
And
It's
we've
not
done
an
all three here.
issue.
We've
Not
done
available here.
replacement, We've done lining, we've done,
If we, since it seems like we need to do this as quickly as we can before we have an emergency, and we're talking about grants, how long would it take, do you think?
Before I did.
they, CHA.
Just, will it be like a couple of years before they award the grant, or will it be,
Well, it'd take you a while to gather stuff, wouldn't it?
I get that, but I'm
Gosh,
just
I can
asking.
imagine,
But
yeah.
I'm just asking,
Yeah.
you know, because that's the better way to do it, but do we have that time,
Yeah,
do you
do we have the
think?
luxury of time?
We don't?
Yeah, that would
Probably not
suck to
for
be
an
halfway through your
emergent
grant
situation.
and then,
That's $1 million question.
Okay.
Because you've got
You
that
just, you don't
balance
know, you don't
of, do you have
know, yeah.
time
It
to
could fail
do it?
tonight.
That's, yeah,
All right,
okay.
thank y'all for answering all these questions, making this presentation to us. If we have more questions, get them to the town manager and he'll pass it on to y'all. We see that we have an issue, and it's, from what y'all described, it's pretty much the whole Confederate line from one end until it goes to the waste treatment center. So,
Can I ask a crazy question?
yes, sir.
What would it take for us to just to be able to do it in-house? How many people would you need to hire?
Oh,
For us to start a continuous improvement of our
they're
system?
shaking their head. Like,
we're
Triple
not,
what you got now?
yeah, I was gonna say, we're not equipped for that.
We have to have a contractor hire a
I mean,
contractor
we built the
to-
system in-house.
to do the
You
work.
could handle an emergency, but you
Emergency
couldn't.
is one thing, us
Time,
replacing
the
it.
time didn't pass like it does now.
We'd be our own contractor,
Everything.
basically. You'd have a crew or two to accommodate that.
Because we have many more
And-
businesses and residents now than when they were built, and God knows when they were put in.
Yeah. And I
It's a
don't know,
different
the only
town
way to
now.
justify that,
New lateral somewhere.
the only way to justify that is if we became a utility company,
I mean, what are we?
we are a utility
We
provider.
exist
Not-
only because of utilities.
Yes, we do, but
Yeah,
we would be, To
Nathan
recoup-
believes in
They can
you.
figure that in there if they want.
I do. I have a lot of faith in you guys.
Triple your
I don't know.
workforce.
But you don't have enough
Contractors
of
are
you
very-
guys.
You wouldn't be able to get anything else done, and you'd have to have new
Day-to-day
people.
operations getting done.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say.
Yes.
You had to dedicate a crew that's solely your day-to-day operations and stuff, so. We're just not equipped for that right now.
Don't have equipment for pipe bursting.
Well, yeah, we can't do pipe bursting, but, you know,
Yeah.
as far
There's no
as
telling what that costs.
And I get that, we get that.
Good question.
We could dream a little.
I'm reading every day.
Buy us a trash truck. Like the good old days.
Yeah.
Okay.
do you want to drive, or you want to be on the
Yeah,
side?
I think the
picking
grant
up?
idea sounds great, but I just can't imagine
That's what I was saying.
Thank
you know,
y'all very
if we have
much.
to wait for a great deal of time.
anything you get for free is gonna take
It's
time.
much better, but
Paperwork.
All right. Moving right along. Thank y'all,
Okay.
again, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Item 2, Mayor for a Day essay contest. Mr. Cardwell, would you like to?
Yeah, sure.
Quick.
Michael's going to help me out a lot with this, pretty much 90% of it, so I don't have anything really heavy to say. The first part of the agenda where it just says if I were a mayor essay contest, Town of Mags and Virginia Municipal League, that one can just be done easily. We can just message out to people, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. The second part to that is the one where I kind of created this like preliminary outline and proposal based off of everything that we talked about at the last meeting. So if you said something, I put a form of it into here. So it gives you a draft itinerary. So that means nothing's gospel in this document. It's just a idea of like what it could look like. Rules and regulations. That one's kind of set in stone with the with the VML. Draft rules and regulations is just kind of like where I'm getting at, so we can be as unbiased as possible once we should make those selections. Strategic messaging, you know, you're probably going to have to contact, you know, just like all these people in order to make this work between the school boards, homeschool co-ops, private school boards, etc. And for the draft staff and council volunteer, this was when the idea of like a Model UN was brought up. So I did actually like put it in here because I actually got pretty excited about it. So I created a whole entire script between pages 3 and 6. This, again, nothing is gospel in this. It really is just an idea to give y'all what the program could be to a large extent and how small it could also be. The concerns that I had was when we go around doing this, specifically with having kids at the town hall or actually bringing them to the fire department or over to the ambulance or over to sheriff and everything. It's just the legal liability, so I didn't know about that. I wanted to make sure that staff felt comfortable with stuff like that, so that was one thing. Filming and pictures, that's another thing we should figure out because I would love to document this. It'd be really nice to actually have a catalog over the years to help out and really show people what we're actually doing for the kids. And then if that, I mean, the last two, I mean, pretty much are just chaperones and guardians, trying to figure out all that stuff. For the budget guess, the way that I put that was, there was one idea to give a gift card, which would be separate from the VML award, that should be on a statewide level. The statewide level is going to be tough for, it's going to be tough for a child to obtain, so I thought it would be easier if we just had something smaller here. Maybe we had like a local restaurant sponsor a kid's meal or something like that. So there are a couple different ideas around that. Other than that, I'm just going to kind of leave it up to y'all if y'all wanted to ask me questions, bring up more ideas. I can add and take away and do whatever. So if y'all want to look through it or...
I'd love to table this until the next meeting.
Yep.
If you wanted some more time to refine, and then we could have Mike here to
Got
talk
it.
through what's logistically feasible.
Yeah, exactly.
The deadline for the original essay is gonna be, March 17th.
Yeah.
So I need to go ahead and send the original one. The
And so that
two
one's
pages.
easy just because that's only VML and we would just have something small to do with it. So I guess the main thing is, would we want a select committee or do we just want staff to pick it out? Or where did it say in there? What was on the thing? I didn't look at
If we
that
did
part.
staff plus McKinley,
Yeah, pretty much.
would there be
That'll work
any
for
issue?
me.
Is there any issue with that?
No,
I'll allow any other council member to volunteer to assist. Okay.
And then we put it out on the Facebook page or the website.
Facebook page, and then the other city was telling me about how we can
Schools.
get out to schools and all stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to get-
So we would just need help with Cornerstone and the other thing we had to figure out was the VML membership. So I need to
Yeah.
contact the person at county to see if they have a
Who?
membership. So
Think-
yeah.
The
So what-
county?
the
Mhm, yeah,
county
county
doesn't
is
do
not a
VML.
member of
They
VML.
do
We understand
VML.
that, but we want to make sure that we have to, any submissions to VML
have to be within the membership
Within
area,
the-
like lines.
The town of Appomattox.
they have to
Yeah.
be
So that makes it really.
children of residents within the town of Appomattox.
Children of residents.
Yeah.
You have to live in town to do this.
Right.
Yeah,
To
so-
do the VML submission.
Yes,
Not for the
for
town of
VML.
Appomattox
But for
submission.
us, we can just do
Let them filter
countywide.
that out,
Yeah,
I think.
that'd be
We'll
fine.
just advertise it and, because
I would
there's no
just-
way to prove town residency.
Yeah.
Like, other
Yeah.
than having a utility bill, we don't have a town ID card.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real,
And
Yeah,
So if a kid applied and they lived in the county,
Yeah, so they would not be able to participate in the VML one, but they could participate at our level.
but you'd pick them all from the same pot?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll take everybody, those that are eligible for VML submission.
Yep.
And you would just
Pass
have that
along.
broken down for the kids to understand.
it's
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
second paragraph.
I don't want a kid say, hey, I won the town of Appomattox and he lives in the county, but I didn't get anything from VML.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. Yeah,
You know.
so we would just stipulate.
That's just,
Yeah, you'd have more kids if you did the county.
yeah,
Mhm,
and
yeah.
we have
I
a
know, I
problem with
wanted the
that
whole entire
for
county.
us,
And they're only 7th and 8th graders, so it's making it even.
tighter
More
pool.
they're
limited.
all town taxpayers, they go to middle school.
Exactly.
They all eat in Appomattox.
They pay their meals tax like good
And it
citizens.
would
That's
just
right.
take a little while to get it popular, but it could be, it
Cigarette tax.
Yeah.
could be really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Are we,
This will be whatever you make of it, McKinley. And I think the council will support
First.
you.
yeah, first time around, let's keep it simple, keep it
Yep.
us.
Yep. 2026 is a little bit bigger.
Inform them that they can submit to VML,
That'd be perfect, yeah.
but we will just handle it from a town perspective for now.
Awesome.
And if they are so driven, yes, VML, they can submit all day long. We will have no question on that. They'll have to deal with VML sorting out who lives in town and who doesn't.
Great.
Not our problem. All right. Thank you, sir. Next item, consideration scheduled council retreat. Rob, would you like to handle that on Michael's behalf?
I think Michael would like to get together, do some strategic planning and outlay a future with you guys, so, if there's any particular time or dates that would not work, or you would recommend, we can get that rolling.
I think if you give us some dates.
Yeah,
give
give
some
us,
dates and we'll see who it affects the work or good.
I will email him and let him know, to revise some dates. And,
I've already got dates.
oh, do you already?
Okay.
Where
Please,
would you
Cindy.
prefer to do it? Would you prefer to do it at the Civil War Museum or at the hotel?
I think
Depends
that
on
we've decided at the last meeting that we do it at the hotel because that is a very convenient spot and they have excellent Wi-Fi,
If it's on.
They have better accommodations.
better combinations, that's a good way to put it.
Okay,
Sure.
do y'all want
So-
to do it on a weekday or a weekend?
I kind of like weekend. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's just my personal.
I work both, so it really doesn't, I have to take off no matter what.
So that's Saturday.
I work weekends
In
too.
the past, we have always had the retreat on a Friday
Yes.
because that suited and starting in the morning.
Okay, no Saturdays are available the month of April.
So it might be better to,
What days are available in the month of April?
During the week,
What days?
hold on.
She's looking at just Fridays.
Friday the 18th is available.
It's Easter weekend. I don't know if it matters.
Friday the 25th is available.
Friday the what?
25th.
25th.
Is there a reason we're looking all the way out to April?
Was this something we wanted to do within 60 days? Was that the original idea, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could do it in March, but you don't have, do you have dates for March?
No, I got dates for April and May.
And I may be mistaken, and I've been known to be mistaken in the past, but I believe that I heard Michael say, we're talking about April, that he will probably be planning more than one retreat since he's new. So if we
A spring
meet,
and a fall.
yeah, we'd meet again. Wouldn't be the only one.
So we could do the 18th or the 25th.
Are y'all good with the 18th?
Well,
What's up?
that's Good Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, unless people
Yeah.
are traveling. I'm not going anywhere,
Could
but
we just do April that morning?
Are
I
you
mean,
Roman Catholic or Episcopal?
No.
Friday? Yeah, well, I mean,
the
I'm just wondering
30th
why you
would be
want
the
that out.
earliest.
Oh, no, I just,
Why would that affect?
I just attend services that are different. But
Is
yeah, no, we did
everybody
that.
good with 9 a.m. to what, 1
9 a.m.
p.m.?
on April 18th. How about you, Jim? 9 a.m.
Yeah,
That, I
9 to
would
3.
think that would be okay with me.
Sure.
9 to 2:30.
I mean, we usually get pretty goofy at that last hour or two.
Yeah,
so
we
9 to-
usually don't go all
Yeah,
day.
I think 9 to 1 is enough, don't y'all?
For this one.
So 9
Yeah.
that.
9 to 1 to lunch.
You could lunch and talk.
Speak for yourself, right?
Well,
No, probably 9 to 1 with lunch.
Yeah, we can end with lunch, I
Yeah.
think. The morning is
You never
most
reach out.
productive. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was the afternoon. Okay, we're
They
good.
give us 3 good hours of getting stuff done, and
And the agenda needs to
everybody be quiet that last hour 'cause they're
Town
eating.
manager and vice versa.
Yeah.
That needs to be the only
Yeah.
agenda, I think, unless it's got emergency or something.
Yeah, he may not need that much time.
Communicating to him and having the agenda of the meeting, first retreat would be us learning the new town manager and him learning us, I guess. They shall want to do something different.
No, I'm good.
Can we get Babcock House to cater it again? That Christmas dinner was really nice. Anybody have objection?
What did we eat last time? We had the
Sandwiches?
barbecue place from
The
Hoof and
Hoof and
feather.
Hound. Hoof and
feather.
Feather.
Feather. Hoof and Hound.
I don't remember that.
Spread it around.
We had potato salad.
I had to miss the Christmas party because I had a procedure the day before. So I would look forward to the,
All right, April 18th,
Yep.
9 to 1.
Okay.
retreat.
And you'll send us an email too, I'm sure. I'll write it down. Take off work.
Would Babcock House wanna, do they have facilities to host one?
They cater.
I
No, they
mean,
cater.
probably would host.
I mean, we're not talking, it's just
They don't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, they do.
8 or 10 of us.
They definitely have Wi-Fi.
Well, why are
stayed
we,
there before.
since we've already decided on the hotel, why are we back?
I'm just wondering.
I mean,
just-
I'm not, sounds
Okay.
like you're
I'm
real
good with the
sensitive to it.
hotel. Let's
Max
do
Inn and
that.
Suites, got it?
Let's make a
Okay.
decision and stick with it.
Entertain a motion to hold the spring retreat at the Max Inn and Suites on April the 18th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., catered by the Babcock House.
Second,
I entertain a motion. You want me to motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Simpson, seconded by Ms. Spiegel. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you. Before we move forward, I want to take a step back. I'm going to entertain the motion for the Town of Appomattox only contest on the 7th, be submitted by the 17th. Well, I know you wanted to table it, but if we're going to carry it through in a very small manner,
I don't think it really requires a motion. We're just inviting people
True.
to apply to something
Okay.
that already exists.
Well.
Kind of like a consensus.
And I'll send it out in the morning.
Yep.
all right.
Okay.
We have a consensus on that one. We shall move on. All right. Any other discussion items? Staff reports, treasurer's report, everybody's got theirs. Rob, is there any critical things in this we need
It
to?
seems that everything is on the roll, looking good. Just wanted to remind everybody of the budget calendar dates. Provide those.
Yeah, the budget.
Schedule
Yeah.
for the meeting.
Is that in this package or is it separate?
That was provided at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Back out.
Yeah, we've already been.
It's been a year since the last meeting, hasn't it? Feels like it.
Don't age me any quicker than I need to be. We can, if we need to, I guess Cindy can, or Kim can make more copies of the budget schedule and have them for us at the next meeting. That might be helpful. To get anyone misplaced their schedule.
It's interesting that bank stock is so different than the year-to-date. Last year, it's $14,000 down.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Next, town manager's report, Mr. Fowler.
I haven't received anything. I think the biggest thing was getting the retreat scheduled so you can come up with a plan of action for the town and moving forward.
Next, Town of Appomattox Centennial Commission Committee.
So we met earlier this evening and solidified a couple of things. We're currently in the process of picking a centennial seal, which we had several local design submissions for that. We also spoke tonight about two different events. So one lining up with the actual centennial, which is in June. So we have a date for that, and a soft date. We're still working to confirm it, but and then we're looking to do some sort of event on Main Street during Railroad Festival of this year. It's kind of a two-prong approach because the June event people aren't necessarily used to, so we're going to have to market and come up with a reason for people to attend. And in October, people, there's always a good crowd on Main Street, and hoping to showcase our train depot and some of the other stuff we have going on. Part of that is we want to buy or do some sort of fundraising for a fixed, long-term, iconic thing, whatever that thing is. We had talked about a brass or bronze bell. That's still kind of the forerunner idea, but we just want something that will last and be here, hopefully for the next century. It's just a marker and something people can be proud of. What we wanted to do is self-fund the two events and not necessarily ask for money from businesses or the public for that. But we're hoping to do fundraising against the idea of either a bell or something else. So to do the events and purchase some memorabilia, we're hoping to do wooden nickels and some die-cast pins and probably T-shirts or something else. We wanted to raise or request from the council an additional $12,000 on top of the 8 that's budgeted, so for a total of 20. And then to fundraise for a bell or potential other item, hoping to raise from private sources somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000, which we think is, it's optimistic, but it's realistic compared to how much money has been raised for other things in the community. It's just a matter of getting people excited about it. So that is there in that word soup of sentences. There was the ask of, can we have an additional $12,000 allocated to holding two events and purchasing memorabilia and doing a little bit of video production and oral history, like what Carver Price did, interviewing some of our community members, just to have that for preservation.
You gonna sell these wooden nickels and stuff?
Wood nickels are cheap enough to where we're just going to give them
We're just
out.
gonna give them away commemorative
We can get 5,000 for $700. So
and put some, printed with some information about the years and so on.
Put a QR code on the back.
Nobody takes wooden nickels.
They will
you might go to
now.
jail for that.
We'll put a QR code on the back, they'll take it.
Make sure you can't counterfeit.
That's
All right.
what's so different
and
about
I'm
it.
just wondering if we had,
T-shirts.
yeah, if we had Appomattox stuff to sell, I mean, I don't know what's available in that visitor center. I mean, maybe that's a way, I know you're not gonna make enough to buy a bell, but, I mean, maybe you can, make some money off of the event, I mean, or,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
To go towards a bell.
yeah.
It's also, the event is a fundraiser, not necessarily from selling anything at the event, but just from
Right.
people being there.
There, yeah, yeah.
Probably a good idea to have some items just in general for sale at the visitor center. All
Yeah,
the time.
yeah. Even like Virginia is for Lovers stuff is so hard to find. It's just,
Well, may I remind council, and Timmy knows this too, we did have a gift shop in the visitor center, and it became impossible for us to continue, do you remember that? To continue running that because you have to have sales tax, state sales tax, you have to have a full-time person almost
Yeah.
to can do that. And that is the reason that we closed the gift shop, gave all our shirts away. We gave a whole lot of them to the Historic Society, most of them, I think, that we had. And I'm not against that, just for the centennial, but to do
right,
it
to do it all the time.
all
would
the
be
time, it's a monumental task, and we just do not, I mean.
Well, we used to have the Lee Grant place that had all kinds of
Yeah.
relics
Yeah.
and stuff, but
It
there's
was
just not
wonderful,
much.
But I mean,
know
I don't
Walmart-
know that we want to take that on after the centennial.
Yeah, Walmart might.
Where are we gonna get the
Like regular shirts and
sales
stuff, team
ladies?
shirts and
Yeah.
they might
They might
do
help.
these shirts and
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
they just
You never
take
know.
and sell them.
Here's a
I do like the
design, it's
idea of
licensed
a
by
bell.
us.
I'm going to Lawrenceville tomorrow for work, and they have one, and I'm gonna get out the car and I'm gonna take a
Take some
picture of it.
pictures,
And I'm
yeah.
gonna see who paid for it and what's written on it.
Ask, yeah.
I tried to find it last time, and I wasn't in the same area.
It just costs so much money.
They're very expensive.
But I like the idea of a bell because when I've seen it at different little towns, and some of them are just the bell and it's not hanging on anything. It's just sitting there on like a
Mounted.
brick.
Yeah,
But I do like that. I can't think of anything as cool as a bell.
me
They last
neither.
like
That's why
500
we.
years.
thought
Unless
of
you
it
had like an
first.
arch, or you need like a physical thing.
That was our
Put a
first
bell
Yeah.
tower on the
idea.
depot.
That's what's that money gonna be for?
So it's for the production of two events mainly. We did a very rough budget tonight, and we can come back before the council votes officially on this. But we had $8,000. We think that that's good enough to cover a
June event.
yeah, the main June event in the festival park. And that would be, McKinley, would you say that that is a very comfortable
Oh, yeah.
margin?
Well, because what we decided was that, I mean, we only do this every 25 years, so might as well put the investment in now. And then when we do the picnic in the park next year after this, then after that, we already have something really going for us at that point.
So it's kind of, we're using the funds that would otherwise have been set aside in our budget for our annual picnic, and that's
We
at
haven't had
$8,000.
Since COVID.
The other 12 is roughly $5,000 for us to do some sort of permanent piece of, some sort of permanent storytelling that can be, archived and kept about Appomattox in the last century. So interviewing people on video, maybe doing something on Railroad Festival where we have somebody doing interviews where anybody off the street can just come in and talk, or the creative treatment for that exhibit is still kind of up in the air, but 5,000 would go to that, and then 5,000 for memorabilia and whatever we might need for the Railroad Festival. So all of that comes out to about 20.
And it's $500 to the winner of our seal competition.
Yep.
Did you pick that yet? Or-
So we've
Not
narrowed
yet.
it down. We're going to request revisions on some
Still
of it.
working
I'll
on
find
it.
some that one.
We had some submissions, but we're gonna,
So they were good?
some of them were.
Good, cool.
We had a really good
Yeah, like you're
response.
gonna pay the oral history people?
Well, we
Or-
have to get an actual professional, like, crew to do video.
Okay,
I don't think anybody's gonna volunteer that.
yeah. I don't even know if anybody does that.
And then we may need some display. I forget if I included that in the budget for the stuff we purchased earlier, if there were screens. I
we
think I
have
could
a-
drop that.
A lot of oral history recorded in the Carver Price Museum, and the way we handled that, we had professionals help us.
Yeah.
We had, you just don't say, put the microphone in somebody's face.
Oh,
and
yeah,
say,
you don't want
"Talk."
it to be good.
We had a list of questions, and we asked the same questions to everybody, and we did it that way, and that came out much better. We have tons, I wouldn't say tons, but we have quite a few of those oral history.
Yeah. And we'll also have, I mean, thanks to you guys voting on it late last year, we'll have all of the Times Virginians from 1890 to basically 1980, and then all of the town council minutes. So we're gonna create a really good corpus of.
That's gonna be really fun to look at
Yeah.
for some people.
Yeah, that, other communities, they haven't invested this into their history and preservation, so they won't have that.
And we're still talking, and we're talking about possible food, and we're talking about some, maybe possible music, and maybe some banjo music, since that's part of the history of the community with Joe Sweeney. We haven't come to any final decisions.
And maybe there'll be other organizations that'll help, like the Historical Society or the
Yes.
Carver Price or
That's an
whoever.
excellent idea.
Anybody who would want to shine.
Yep. Anybody who wants to help can help.
So what we'll do, I'll plan to come back with a budget, and we'll put it on the next agenda
Yeah.
to discuss, and
Good work, Nathan.
thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next item, Physical Development Committee. Finance and Planning Committee, sir.
Nothing.
Council comments, Ms. Allen,
I don't have anything.
Mr. Boyce,
I have nothing.
Mr. Cardwell,
I have nothing.
Mr. Garrett.
I'd like for us to pretend that we're watching live TV, watching the town council's meetings, and see how we're presenting ourselves to the 100 million people that's looking at us.
Yeah.
I know this is a workshop and kind of this atmosphere we need, but I think when we have our business meeting, I think we need to be thinking about how we present ourselves to the public. Using the agenda as our roadmap. And I'm guilty of it myself, as somebody talking and break off another conversation or whatever. I just think we can dress that up a little bit. And would help Carlton on his presentations that he's trying to put out for us. I'm just thinking about that. That's the only thing I had on my mind, Mayor. Carlton, you want to add anything to that?
It's, workshop is a little different, like what you did tonight, talking from the floor. That's different because that stays here. We do not put that on. But your council meeting does go on television. And when you're having people, last meeting we had people talking from the floor, and people who were not coming to address the council, but just talking in general, and did not come to the podium. I think you kind of need a rule of thumb. If you speak, you need to be at that podium to identify who you are and what you're representing, and to just make yourself a little more polished on your council meetings to give a little bit better image, because people perceive you as either professional or unprofessional. And you really want to give for the best image, because you are the representatives of the town of Appomattox. And people do watch, and we have a broad footprint across Virginia, so it's just not seen in Appomattox. It's seen throughout the entire state and even into West Virginia. So you got a broad footprint, so you need to try to sharpen your skills, and a lot of this small talk that you have sometimes during your council meetings, you need to kind of eliminate that. Talk about spinning off, talk about things that doesn't have any purpose to what you're dealing with. just a little critique to make you look better. Doesn't make me look better, it makes you look better.
You're behind the camera, I know how that works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how do we want to be proceed? I appreciate that, Timmy.
Absolutely concur.
Mr. Simpson,
I saw the bullet on your update. I'm gonna get with you. I've been waiting on the last shipment to get here because I wanna do a electric load on that to try and see what it draws, because I gotta get with Timmy. And then all of that equipment is probably gonna flow out of those 2 server racks. So that's on my agenda.
It's there waiting.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just let me know you
Okay.
want to look at it.
Cool.
and Ms. Spiegel.
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any further business come before the workshop meeting at this time for the Town Council of Appomattox?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, folks.